it's time for the First Bet DRF Pegasus Cup Day handicapping preview show. Alexa, that's a mouthful right there. We've got a lot to discuss. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Alexa Zepp. We're going to welcome in a couple guests today on this huge preview show. I'm pumped. You and I are in our hotel rooms. We're just a couple doors down from each other, but we're in Florida getting ready for a big weekend at Gulfstream Park. How's it going?
So great. I mean, Gulfstream's so much fun. Pegasus is so much fun. This weekend is more than just a weekend of racing. There's all sorts of awesome entertainment here that we're going to tell everybody about.
So one of the horse racing companies out there called First Bet and First Racing, they are in charge of running a couple different racetracks, and they have different wagering websites that you can play and wager along with. And one of the staff, one of our good friends, someone who's a great handicapper, a great ambassador, is going to join us right now and help us set the scene for that day. Bailey Armour from First Racing joins us. Bailey, how's everything going?
It's going great, Gino. What a generous introduction. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad to be here with you today.
So in this first segment, let's set the scene a little bit because we're going to do some handicapping in the next segment. So we're going to preview races 10, 11, 12, 13. We're going to talk pick 5. But first, let's kind of set the scene for everybody who may not know about this day. So this day was created back in 2017 from the folks at First, because they wanted to have this big day on the calendar with a huge race that some of the best horses in the world could point to, but also a really fun day at the track with music, with excitement, with entertainment. It's just a really fun experience to be out there on Pegasus Day.
Absolutely. This is my third Pegasus, and without a doubt, I can say this is one of the events that I look forward to the most out of every year's racing calendar. The Pegasus is not just one of the, most stacked races in the entire racing calendar of the whole year. In fact, this year we actually have 7 Grade 1 winners in this edition of the Pegasus World Cup. But alongside that, you've got top quality entertainment. We've got some DJs, we've got some singers and performers performing out in Carousel Club all day long. And then the food down here on Pegasus Day is truly unmatched. So if you haven't been to the Pegasus before, make sure that you add this one to your list of important races to go to, because you don't miss it.
Bucket list type event. Now, when the event was created in 2017, it was placed in January on the calendar for a couple reasons. It's a few months after the Breeders' Cup, and it's right before the North American breeding calendar will start in February. So it will give a lot of these really nice horses maybe a chance to get one more big race for breeding purposes, get a big win under them. And Bailey, we've seen this grow. Initially, we had the Pegasus World Cup Dirt. Now we have 3 Pegasus races where we have a turf race and then a filly and mare turf race. So like any big event, we've just seen this thing grow and grow and grow. And now we have, Charles Appleby shipping in horses from all across the world. It really has become an event that people are pointing their horses to run at.
They're absolutely putting the world in Pegasus World Cup this year, which is great. The Pegasus World Cup filly and mare turf was upgraded to a grade 2 this year. Now that's one of the races that we'll touch on as we get into the show. But the caliber of fillies and mares that have entered this race this year is really, really special, along with some other international horses. So I think this might be the best one we've seen in its 9-year history.
And Alexa, I know you are someone who gets involved in a lot of handicapping contests. In fact, you had a nice run last year in the NHC, but one of the biggest handicapping contests of the entire year is this weekend. It's on Saturday. It's the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that contest, Alexa?
Yeah, so handicapping tournaments is actually how I got introduced to horse racing altogether and involved in the sport. So it's very near and dear to my heart. I'm trying to think how many times I've played in the Pegasus tournament. At least 2, maybe 3. 2 here on site. You can play online too. So if you're itching to get in, you still can. But it's a really fun tournament. It's a live bankroll tournament. The buy-in is $6,000. And you bet it and you try to run your total up, and then whoever runs their total up the most gets a ton of prize money. The winner's going to walk away with well over $100,000 in this tournament. There's over $250,000 in prizes. So it's just a really exciting tournament, an exciting race day to do it at, with so many exceptional horses to bet on.
So you can get involved in a big handicapping contest. We're going to preview the late pick 5. Bailey, they even have special wagers like the First Racing Coast to Coast pick 5 that will have the last 3 races of the Pegasus Day, and they will mix with a couple races at Santa Anita where you go back and forth. But the one thing I wanted to point out about that wager and a lot of the other wagers in particular, I'm someone who plays the races quite a bit. It seems like the folks at First, at Gulfstream, at Santa Anita, a lot of those tracks have really tried to make some of the wagers a lot more handicapper friendly, lower takeout. What does that mean? We get more of our money back when we win. Who doesn't want that, right?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So one more thing to mention today, the schedule. We're going to be talking about some of the biggest races, and we're going to take a quick look and just a highlight of who are some of the major players in each of those races. You can catch all the action starting at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on NBC and on Peacock. We're going to be very lucky to have Randy Moss from NBC help us to analyze a couple of these big races throughout. So Bailey will help us set the scene. We'll have Samantha Perry from Gulfstream Park join us to preview a race, and then Randy Moss will help us preview the big races. We'll finish up with a pick 5 ticket from myself and from Alexa. So let's take a quick look in at race number 10. That's going to be one of the races we're going to preview in this show in the next hour or so. It's the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Just to give everybody an idea of who are some of the major players, you have Rakia, who's coming into the Todd Pletcher barn, who we last saw win a race at Del Mar, who I think will take a lot of money down on the inside. Fluffy Socks, she'll come running late. She was only 7-2 in this race last year. And then towards the outside, I think Sacred Wish is another one who's just in really nice form right now. A couple of the major players in the Filly and Mare Turf. As we move to race number 11, I think one of the major players in this one, this is the inside info, you're going to have to the outside Emery as a real horse to beat. So I'm looking forward to analyzing that race, seeing if we're going to beat maybe Emery or we're going to go in different directions. The 12th race, it's the Pegasus World Cup Turf, and that's where we're going to see some of the best horses in the world shipping in. They're all going to be running for that $1 million purse, race number 12. A couple of the headliners in this one. To the outside, you're going to see Nation's Pride, who is a very talented world traveler. You'll also see Integration, who's probably one of the better local horses, who was actually favored in this race last year and a major player. And then as we get into the World Cup, Bailey, we're not going to be talking with you a whole lot about the World Cup, but give us a thought real quick. We have Saudi Crown, who's probably going to be showing some speed to the inside. We've got the local hero, White Barrio, and then to the outside, you've got the young, up-and-coming, lightly raced Locked. Those are some of the major players, but who is a horse or two that's on your radar?
Another one on my radar that you didn't mention, as shown here on the graphics, the number 6 Stronghold. So a California-based horse has been in the trifecta in the Pegasus in 8 of its 9 editions. Stronghold is my key play underneath White Barrio and Locked in the Pegasus World Cup.
Yeah, Stronghold is one of those horses who we saw as a 3-year-old, and now as a 4-year-old, you could see he's just improving, he's developing, he's maturing, he's coming off of a faster speed figure last time out. So 3 big Pegasus World Cup races today, lots of on Saturday, lots of betting opportunities for everybody there, and we're going to pick the brains of a couple different really sharp handicappers over the next hour or so right here on SportsGrid. So remember, we have a quick little teaser video that we want to show you before we get to our first break. And after the break, we'll get into race number 10 with Bailey, the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. But before we do, let's find out a little bit more about Pegasus Day.
Can't help but dance.
See, and I was in trouble there because the producers told me based on my shot, I can't move my head around a lot. So I was trying to bob and weave a little bit, and I was having to really force myself from moving. But don't worry, we'll be dancing all over the place on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to get you set up. We're going to go race by race, race 10, 11, 12, 13, horse by horse previews. We'll start first with the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. It'll be myself, Bailey, and Alexa, horse by horse, when we return from this quick break.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Okay, we have a lot of ground to cover in these next few segments, so we cannot wait at all. We have to get right into race number 10. This is the horse-by-horse preview of the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf, and we'll get started with Bailey right off the bat. Bailey, we have the number 1, Rakia, who's coming in off of a win in November at Del Mar. What are your thoughts about this horse's chances in here?
Rakia's win in the Goldacova was super impressive to me. This Irish-bred British race filly has just transferred to the Todd Fletcher barn here in the United States. Now, she is stretching out to a 1.16 for the first time in her 8-start career, but she's a pretty quick horse. She's a very early speed type when we don't have a ton of those in this race. I think if she breaks sharp from that inside post, especially the way that the start and finish runs here at Gulfstream in this 1.16 distance, consistent 7-day work pattern, back-to-back bullets, 2 works back in like late December, early January down here at Gulfstream. She really likes the track, and she's one to watch for me for sure.
Major player here. The number 2, Pounce, likes Gulfstream Park. She can sit close. What do you think about Pounce's chances in here?
John Stewart's filly, 15-1 on the morning line. She won the Grade 3 Here Comes the Bride down here at Gulfstream last year in March. She's a little bit slower with some buyer numbers than other fillies and mares in the race here, but Dylan Davis really knows how to ride this filly and has an incredible run so far at Gulfstream since moving his tack down here. He's winning at a 25% win clip with an average ROI of $30. So don't count out Pounce just yet.
Be Your Best was off form, had not won in a while, and then recently put back-to-back victories together in graded stakes races. How do you think this one stacks up?
She's definitely been back to being her best for sure. I love this post draw for her. She might sit right behind Rakia, the number 1, based on her running style. Saffie Joseph, of course, we know him, we love him. South Florida staple down here, especially with horses transferring back to his barn. I would take Be Your Best anywhere between 3 all the way up to 6-1.
Alexa, we'll move to you to talk about Watchtower here, coming off of a kind of a lackluster performance in the American Oaks.
Yeah, big long shot at 20-1, won the Grade 3 Autumn Miss at San Antonio in October, and has hit the board in 6 out of 8 starts, but did fall short when they stepped her up to Grade 1 company. I just don't really think she's fast enough to contend in here against a lot of these strong closers.
Fluffy Socks, you kind of know what you're going to get with her, right? She's going to drop way back. She's going to make that one late run.
Yeah, I've been a fan of this mare for many years. You know, she got 4th place in this race last year, missing by under 2 lengths. Since then, she's only won the Grade 3 Gallerette, but did hit the board in the Grade 1 First Lady at Keeneland. Here's the thing, like you said, she's a powerful, powerful deep closer, but when you're a deep closer in a big full turf race, you're liable to run into traffic and have too much work to do at the end. So I'm always rooting for her, but her typical rider, Irad, did opt for the 11, Bless My Stars here instead. So, you know, take that as you may.
Chilean bred Donna Clotta, kind of a wild card here too, a multiple Group 1 winner, just not sure where that form stacks up against a group like this.
Is a wild card, first race in the States for trainer Ignacio Correas. I mean, This is the toughest she's ever faced. And in a group like this with so many seasoned horses, it's hard for me to play a horse with so many unknowns.
Manushka is a little bit interesting here, the number 7. She's a deeper closer. She didn't get very much pace to run at last time. She faced a sharp horse named Keho Beach. If they go quick early, she can come running and she will pick up some pieces. 3rd start of the form cycle. Keep an eye on her. Right next door, Papilio, the Irish bred, had kind of tailed off form a little bit. That was a really good second behind Be Your Best last time out. I know this is kind of a wise gal horse, this 5-year-old mare now, who people are thinking can make some noise on Saturday. And then you have Ocean Club, probably a bit overmatched in this group. This is going to be one of the tougher groups that she's ever faced. She was behind Be Your Best last time out. I'm going to expect her to show some speed. I think she'll be forwardly placed in here and part of that early pace. And then, Bailey, I'll set you up for your top selection in here, the number 10, Sacred Wish.
The number 10 Sacred Wish. This 5-year-old mare is an absolutely game race filly. George Weaver's horse, especially with John Velasquez in the irons, who comes back to ride today, really loves to press that early pace. She's going to press the number 1 Rakia, and I think is going to come flying home at the end. For me, I'm all in on the 10 Sacred Wish.
Alexa, why don't you finish this up with Bless My Stars and see you around?
Yeah, Bless My Stars, 8-1 morning line, as previously mentioned. Hall of Fame jockey Irad Ortiz opted to hop aboard this mare instead of Fluffy Socks. Interesting choice considering how much lighter a resume she has. But she's been out one time in the U.S. a month ago in a grade 3 at Gulfstream, got 6th place by 1 3/4 lengths. Similar to Fluffy Socks, is a closer in here. Personally, I like Fluffy Socks more. The 12 is See You Around at 20-1, another long shot with 2 U.S. starts. Big improvement in her second start, winning here at Gulfstream, but it was a step down in class, and I do think probably a bit of a cut below some of the other major contenders in here, as really slow workouts as well in preparation for this race.
There's your field for race number 10 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. It's the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Now we'll take a look at selections, who we're going to put on top in this race. How are we going to approach this race? So we'll start ladies first. Both have the 10 on top. Bailey, talk to us a little bit about the way that you stacked them up behind Sacred Wish.
Like I said, so the number 10 Sacred Wish, definitely my top pick. I think she's in rare form coming into this race. Be Your Best, the number 3, Sappy Joseph, knows what he's doing, and especially knows what he's doing with this filly down here in South Florida. Donna Clota, the one that's shipping in from South America, could be a little bit of an unknown here, especially like you mentioned, Alexa. She's facing older, tougher horses for the first time in her career. I feel like these South Americans really shine, or they totally flop for their first start in the U.S. So I'm going to take a swing with her underneath, followed by the number 1 Rakia, that Todd Pletcher filly, who's had a great form after coming off the win in the grade 3 Goldacova at Del Mar. Gets Frankie Dettori back to ride, who I get a chance to speak with later this afternoon. So maybe you'll have to check my Twitter to see if my opinion changes after that.
Nice. So Alexa, you're going to have the same one on top, but a little different behind.
Yeah, I saw this race really close between Fluffy Socks, Rakia, and Sacred Wish. I think there is a chance Rakia gets out and wires the field and wins and no one catches her because there's just not a ton of pace in here. But I do think Sacred Wish has the best chance to get the most desirable position out of those 3 horses with the running style in here. Fluffy sometimes, like I said, can get caught behind and have too much work to do. So I put Sacred Wish over Rakia, Fluffy Socks, and then a little bit of a long shot with Ocean Club, the 9.
Lots of similarities between the 3 of us. I kind of agree with that sentiment, Alexa, in that maybe Rakia, Fluffy Socks, and Sacred Wish, kind of that top tier of horses in here. And they all kind of have different running styles too. Sacred Wish kind of versatile. Fluffy Socks going to drop way back. Rakia probably more forwardly placed. I'll throw in a long shot in the mix, the number 2 Pounce, who is very good at Gulfstream Park, has some tactical speed, can sit close. I think will save all the ground from down on the inside. So Bailey, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Look forward to seeing you out at the track on Saturday.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you around.
We'll take a quick break. When we return, we're going to bring in Samantha Perry. We're going to talk about race number 11, the grade 2 inside information on Saturday over at Gulfstream Park.
Second full year under new ownership to really be where they are right now. for this Commanders franchise is one of the best stories of this NFL season.
Went to the playoffs and won 2 road games. Now we're going to use that. Hey, rookie quarterback one? No more rookie quarterback. He's already arrived in the NFL as a legitimate quarterback. And can you say, Ben, is he already top 5?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
He did nothing for 5 weeks. So he is becoming his brother. So I don't want to hear about how great TJ Watt is with his 0 playoff wins. And he's the first guy to admit it. He comes right out and says, I've never won a playoff game. I don't matter. All right, at least we all know who the best player on the team is. It's George Pickens. If you don't believe that, well, then screw you too.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We'll see if they get McCain back. Kelly Oubre, Yabusele's been good. Caleb Martin's a defensive specialist. Andre Drummond can still give you, almost a double-double at any point. I can't go south on this team. And now you're giving it to me at 2-1 to make the playoffs? To be in the Final 8? Folks, give me the Philadelphia 76ers to make the playoffs at plus 210.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP in the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP in the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
Alexa, I got a little excited to talk to Samantha Perry. She's going to join us in our next segment. This one, it's going to be you and I getting into the inside information, which is race number 11. So it's right in the middle of all those Pegasus World Cup races on Saturday. Let's get into the field here. I'm going to remember this name because as an Italian, I butchered it last time I said, and then I got scolded for not knowing to correctly pronunciate Muccia here from the inside, who's going to be a big price, who was well defeated, though, by Emery a couple starts back. So I like her most recent win, but it was against softer. She's going to have to step up. The number 2, Nick Style, real wild card in this race. 5 for 6 overall. Some of the wins have been against softer, but she just continues to step up and get a little bit better. She beat a horse named Our Disaster, who ran second behind her. And then Our Disaster came back and won a race at Gulfstream last week, a pretty nice one. Sterling Silver is the number 3. And she's interesting because she's actually a really nice late running sprinter. Her last 2 races have been going longer. I don't think that's her game. She's going to cut back here. If they go fast early on, she can come closing and pick up the pieces. So I would be using her in the bottom of exotics. I'll pass the baton to you, Alexa, on the number 4, Hall and Ice.
Yeah, and like you said, if they go fast early on, I do think there is a fair amount of pace in here. So just keep that in mind for this.
This might be one of them, right? Hall and Ice.
Yeah, 4-year-old filly, 15-1, long shot. A bit inconsistent from a speed figure perspective, although has won half of her 10 lifetime starts and gotten second in 3 others. Both times I've asked her to step up in class level, she kind of disappointed majorly. So I don't really see a reason to believe why we would expect differently today. Dazzling Move, the 5, 20-1, another long shot, never been asked to compete at this high of a level. So will be a big class test. All of her best performances have come going longer distances, and her best performance was 3 races ago in the Pumpkin Pie, where she was still over 3 lengths behind Nick Style. So tough place to be. The 6, Jody's Pride at 8-1 has won half of lifetime starts. Super promising 2-year-old. She got second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies in 2023, and a neck behind, just FYI. Since then has had some longer layoffs. Unfortunately, hasn't progressed as much as you would hope. Her trainer, Jorge Abreu, is great at bringing his horses back after long breaks, 30% win rate, doing that, and nearly a $5 ROI. So that stat is really hard to ignore, but at the same time, we would need to see a monumental improvement from what we saw last year.
Yeah, she's such a wild card because we know she's got talent. We know she was really good, but was she just precocious? And was she just ahead of everybody then? Or can she continue to progress? We'll find out on Saturday. Mystic Lake is really sharp in really nice form. It's not even that I don't like Mystic Lake as a horse. It's just I like others a little bit more in this spot, but she's very, very honest. She's proven at Gulfstream Park. If you eliminate the grass race, she faced Torpedo Anna and was probably a little overmatched there, and maybe she just doesn't want to go all that long. Mystic Lake, very honest.
Torpedo Anna, just to shout out, won Horse of the Year last night.
Yeah,
so
when you see her in the running lines, you shouldn't worry if a horse got well defeated by Torpedo Anna. We actually have last year's winner of this race, Olivia Darling, and she won last year. She was in really good form. She kind of tailed off a little bit, but she bounced back with a nice sort of prep race to get her ready for this. It was against an easy group, but she did what she was supposed to. She came from kind of the back of the pack early on, but she fits pretty well with this group. I'm not sure how tough the field she beat was, though, last year, but on speed figures, she's right there. Alexa, why don't you round out the field with the horse to beat?
Yep, Emery, 3-1, another short price who's proven herself multiple graded stakes wins, most recent being the Grade 2 Raven run in October of last year. She's consistent, continued to improve every race through her career. So I don't think there's any reason to believe she wouldn't fire this weekend. She's won at this distance, and I think can kind of sit behind Mystic Lake and Nick Style for a pretty comfortable trip.
Yeah, I think being drawn to the outside for her is actually a real positive because she has versatility. She doesn't really want to be on the lead. She can if no one else shows speed, but she wants to sit just off with a target. So you have 9 over 2, over 7, over 3. Anything else you want to mention about your top 4?
No, I really like Emery, and I wish I liked a longer price horse in here, but I do still think you can get some value out of the Exacta in this race.
The real key to me in this race is what will the off odds be? Because on the morning line, Emery is 3-1, and I think they had the 7 Mystic Lake as the morning line favorite. I would be shocked if that's the case. I think Emery is going to hands down be the horse that gets all the action in here, and that might give the 8 Olivia Darling an opportunity to float up a little bit. Because if she's like 5 or 6-1, then I might be able to play her on the win end. But if she is in that 4-1 range, I'm not sure if that's quite enough value for me, because I agree with you in that Emery is the one to beat in here. So we'll take a quick break. When we return, okay, now we'll talk to Samantha Perry in race number 12, and we'll get all set up for the Pegasus World Cup Turf. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're rolling along on the First Bet DRF Pegasus Cup Day preview show. Love saying that.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, 2 teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 8 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today, and stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Saturday, January 25th is a huge day at Gulfstream Park. It is Pegasus Cup Day. We're going to have a preview show. First Bet presents the DRF handicapping show for Pegasus World Cup. Alexa, tell us more.
Yep, Friday, January 24th. Make sure to tune in on SportsGrid TV from 2 to 3 p.m. to see the show. If you miss it then, don't worry. It airs again on Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about all the major contenders in the Pegasus Cup.
Special guests Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, and Randy Moss will join us. Don't miss it.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
And they're off.
We're back on the First Bet DRF Pegasus Cup preview show, and we got to give some love to our friends over at First Bet. Alexa, you and I are going to be doing some work with them this weekend. We're going to be wagering ambassadors out on the track, helping people put some wagers together. Hopefully, we're leading them in the right direction, and we're good ambassadors. But First Bet has done a great job getting a big day of racing ready. Make sure you can head on over there if you want to make some wagers as well. We bring in our next guest. I'm very excited to talk to her about the Pegasus World Cup turf. I actually had the chance to talk with Samantha Perry a couple years ago before she became a big deal, and now we see her on the Gulfstream Park feed, previewing every race, doing a great job. She's also the #1 Oklahoma City Thunders fan, and they are awesome right now. Shout out to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. So, Samantha, how's everything going on your end?
Hey, it's going great. It's good to be here. Good to see everybody. And I'm glad that next to horse racing, it's OKC Thunder, like the hyphen next to my name.
Yeah, I'm excited right now because I just came off of a big Laker win against the Celtics. So I'm still feeling really good.
Good for you.
But we have a lot of ground to cover here, and we have a really big race to discuss. It's the Pegasus World Cup turf. So we're going to go horse by horse through this field, and we're going to pick Samantha's brain a little bit. We'll scratch the 1 Siege of Boston not going to run, so that will make the 13 Fort Washington. That will bring that one into the field. Formidable Man is the 2, going to face older horses for the first time, but what he has is kind of a tactical speed advantage on probably a lot of these horses down on the inside. So don't be surprised to see this horse outrun his odds or maybe hit the board at a very fair price. We have the #3, Mi Hermano Ramon. He's a grade 2 winner. And he was second last time out behind Johannes, who was one of the finalists for an Eclipse Award. And if he was in this race, he would probably be favored in there. So Mi Hermano Ramon, I think, fits off of that form. And he's in really, really nice form right now. Alexa, I'll pass it to you for the #4, Win for the Money.
Yep, Win for the Money, 12-1 morning line odds. Won the grade 1 Wood by Mile with a super fast speed figure. Second only to Nation's Pride in here with that fast figure. Earned him a spot in the Breeders' Cup Mile. He got last place. So that distance might have been a touch long for him. But when he shows up, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Samantha, the #5 Integration was actually favored in this race last year, but feels like he's been around for longer than he is. I keep looking back. He's only run 10 times, but he's been a real mainstay the last couple years in big races, and he feels like it's a really good spot for him again.
Yeah, it does. And I feel like he's maybe slightly a better horse than he was last year coming into this Pegasus World Cup turf for sure. And he's got that confidence coming off of the win at the Aqueduct meet, which is a good sign coming into this race. And when you get Frankie Dettori in the saddle, you know you're going to get a textbook ride.
The #6 Major Dude, Samantha, has like a real good running style, and I think that's one of his major advantages, right? He always can put himself in the race where he's not right on the lead, but he kind of sits in that next tier right behind the leaders, and he can get the jump on some of the deeper closers. He's just a fun horse to use because of that versatility.
Yeah, he is. And he is such a dude as well. And I caught up with trainer Todd Pletcher about him, and, they're happy with the way he's coming into this race. Of course, you have to be coming into a grade 1 event, but those 2 wins and at least the grade 2 Fort Lauderdale win last time out, I think they put him on a good confidence boost coming into this race. He's obviously familiar with the track. He's familiar with the surroundings, and that gives you, I feel like, a little bit of a tactical edge on some of these.
Alexa, let's move to you for Nation's Pride.
Yeah, morning line favorite, 2-1 odds for Charles Appleby and William Buick. Won the Arlington Million this summer, has the fastest lifetime speed figures of anybody in here, and puts those up pretty consistently. I actually don't think he's a lock in here, but I don't think you can leave him off your tickets.
But you do like the horse right next door a little bit at a price.
Did you know I was born and raised in St. Louis?
Wow, okay.
18 years in St. Louis, yes. So Spirit of St. Louis.
Runs right through you, the Spirit of St. Louis.
Runs right through me. And a great horse, won 9 of 13 races, got second in 3 others. Now, this is absolutely the most difficult ever have tried. Almost all races have been against New York breds, but he was only about a length and a half behind more than Looks in the grade 1 turf mile, 2 back, who went on to win pretty big races. So I think you have to include this horse at the odds. I mean, 20-1 morning line.
So the #9 Balnikov, Alexa, what I know about him, because I'm in Southern California, I'm watching these races quite often. He hates Santa Anita. If you talk to his trainer, his owner, his connections, he does not like Santa Anita. And for a horse who's out here on the West Coast, they run at Santa Anita like 7 months of the year. So that's not great. But he has 9 races at Santa Anita. He's only run second twice. In the 13 races he has everywhere else in North America, 4 wins, 3 seconds, 4 thirds, and a troubled 8th. So he is just way better outside of Santa Anita.
He needs to move.
Right? I know.
That's what they're doing.
Move, yeah.
Really, they should relocate, because when you see him show up elsewhere, he just is so much more competitive in those spots. Samantha, we both like Battle of Normandy as a horse who I think could outrun their odds in here. There's not that much speed. He's really sharp. This feels like a Shug type horse too. He's such a patient trainer.
He really is. And how can you leave off a horse that has won 4 races in a row? And even if maybe the figures seem a little bit slower than some of the others on paper, when a horse wins 4 races in a row, and this is a race, if you're spreading at least for sure, he's got confidence coming in here. You mentioned that about Shug. He points for big days about like this, and he's won. But I'm also, maybe you guys are the same way. If a trainer has 1, 2, or 3 in a race, like I have to use all of them.
Yep.
I don't want to get beat by the other one.
And another one of his just drew in from the outside. But if you talk about Battle of Normandy a little bit more, when we're talking about his like speed figures that might be light, what I like to do is look at who the horses he faced in those races. He beat a horse named Truly Quality, who has won 3 stakes in a row, 2 graded stakes. He beat a horse named And the Winner Is, who came right back to win the Grade 3 Knickerbocker. And he beat a horse named Gigante, who has won 2 stakes races in a row at Fairgrounds. So I like horses like this who maybe his figures are a little light, but we know they might be better than they are because the horses he's defeated have come back and run really, really well. Grand Sonata, Alexa, multiple graded stakes winner here. No real excuses last time out. Was 4th though in that common race behind Major Dude and behind some of these in the Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, I mean 4th place behind 3 common opponents. That's tough. Being a closer, I think he's gonna find it. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of other strong closers, so I'm passing on Grand Sonata.
And then you want to round out the body of the field with Chasing the Crown, Alexa, and I'll get to the AE.
Sure, yeah, Chasing the Crown, 20-1, another long shot who's had some more inconsistent speed figures than normal, I think, in the past 6 months. But, he's 6 years old, so that's not totally crazy. He has ability, but again, is a closer amongst many strong closers. So I think is a cut below.
Samantha, since we did scratch the 1, that means Fort Washington draws in. And I will say, he's over his last 5. But if you just watch the Fort Lauderdale, he was really good in that race, and he was very wide. It was like I kept waiting for him to stop and to back up because he was so wide throughout, but he kept coming, he kept grinding, and he made it really close with Major Dude.
He did. He galloped out huge. And it's important to note the day of the Fort Lauderdale, the rails were at 66 feet, which makes it impossible for closers. Now, the rails are down for this race on Saturday. So I feel like that will help him a lot more. And the fact that he draws in, I think, is perfect. And he's one that you have to add because he was rolling late. Rail settings was not conducive to his running style at all. And now I think it's game time.
We've already seen him have to deal with that wide trip. So if he is caught a little bit wide from out there, at least he's had to deal with it before, and he's proved that he can show up with a pretty good effort. So we move to selections. Samantha, we'll start with you. You and I both have the 5 integration on top. So talk us through your top 4.
Yep. So integration on top for me, this is if you're playing the pick 5, pick 4, any of those types of bets. It's a spread race for me, but integration on top just due to the class of the rider and the race that he's coming off of. And then the 6 Major Dude, 2 wins in a row. At least he has a recency edge. I like that a lot. The 2 horse for Middleman, you guys mentioned it. Gino, you mentioned it earlier. He's got some speed, and I think there's no other choice but for him to kind of go from the rail draw now. And then the number 10, I think, is pretty live too. Just you have to respect the 4 wins in a row.
Samantha Perry, you're going to see her out on the broadcast at Gulfstream Park, picking winners all the time. Thank you so much, Samantha. Good luck all weekend.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Hopefully I'll see you guys out here.
We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll get into the main event, the Pegasus World Cup with Randy Moss.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's time for the main event. And if you have ever watched horse racing on big days on the national scale, you know this man, you've heard his voice, handicapper, host, horse racing ambassador extraordinaire. Very excited to bring in Randy Moss. Randy, I wish we had more time in the segment to talk and to shoot it a little bit with you, but how's everything going on your end?
Everything's going great. You're too kind. Some good races to look forward to on Saturday. Maybe some sunshine for a change here in South Florida. So we're ready to roll.
Well, let's get right on into it. Let's go horse by horse. We start with Mixto, who won the Pacific Classic earlier this year, but was kind of a soft renewal of the Pacific Classic. A little bit more of a grinder in here, Randy. Do you think he can step up and compete with a group like this?
Consistent horse. I look at him as like a 98 buyer speed figure type horse at best. I think it's going to take maybe a 103, 104. The best thing to say about him is that he'll probably save a little ground, and also the 8 previous runnings of the Pegasus, none of the winners have at any point in the race been farther behind than 2 lengths. That includes Arrowgate. So you need to be up close in the mix, no pun intended, and at least he should be that.
And that will be good for the next horse, the number 2, Saudi Crown, because it does not look like there's that much early speed in here. And this one could be the fastest.
Yeah, I expect him to set the pace. Mixto has some speed too, though, and Frankie Dettori can get pretty aggressive at times on the dirt, and he breaks to the inside of Saudi Crown. The worst thing that could happen to Saudi Crown is if he doesn't really break that fast, and Dettori sends Mixto up to the inside of him, and they wind up kind of going head and head. But at 9-2 right now, which is what Saudi Crown is in the line, I'm expecting him to be a much shorter price than that, but to me, that would be a great price for this horse.
New Grange comes into the Jose D'Angelo barn for the first time. If this race was being run last year around this time, he'd probably be a player, but he's kind of tailed off form, Randy, since then, and they're moving into a new barn now. He hasn't raced since July.
I'm surprised they're running him.
Me too.
He's had 2 breathing surgeries. Phil D'Amato, who had him in California, was not up with the program of shipping him east to run in the Pegasus World Cup, so they changed trainers. He's had 2 workouts in a month. If you can get down anywhere in Vegas on a last place finisher, this is your horse.
We move to the local favorite, Alexa. Talk to us a little bit about White Abario, who just is a real horse for course, and he got back to his form in the last couple races when he went home to Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, he has. You know, I mean, he's done an amazing career, won over $5 million, won the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2023, Grade 1 Whitney, then had a bit colder of a year, some long layoffs after disappointing in Saudi Arabia and then again in Saratoga. But like you said, won in November here at Gulfstream, came back in the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector last month as a favorite and closed, didn't quite get there, got second. Did get a slow start that day. It looks like he's back on track, or maybe back on track, but I wouldn't say he's a super attractive bet at 3-1 with those recent inconsistencies.
Randy, I know you think Krupi is a horse who could maybe complete some of the bottom of the exotics in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can clunk up like he did last year. Last year, he finished third in this race. I think the pace was a lot faster last year than it will be this year. But he's training well. He'll probably lose some ground, which is not good. He likes to be on the outside. But, there are a couple of horses in here I think that maybe aren't at their best, and Krupe could sneak into to the exotics at a decent price, I think.
Alexa, the Santa Anita Derby winner Stronghold seems to be improving. He comes off a career best Buyer speed figure last time out.
He's knocking on the door for the last 7 months for a win. 3 second-place finishes, each time improving speed figures. Ran best ever out in the Grade 1 Malibu. That was a cutback in distance to 7 furlongs, but still, I think he's shown us that he can handle the long distance. And I think the race really could set up nicely for him. Hopefully, he can be forwardly placed and get a leg up on the closing crew in here.
The next couple might be a bit of a long shot in this spot. Steel Sunshine's the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Mile winner, but he just doesn't really want to go quite this far, and I don't know about at this level. Then you have Vitality, who's the Prince of Wales winner, won one of the Canadian Triple Crown races north of the border. But again, I think we need to see jump up at this level and compete. Randy, what do we do with Mystic Dan, the Kentucky Derby winner who came back and he was so flat in the Malibu? Do we just use that as a prep race and think he can shake some of the rust off?
I think you can't use him. I really don't. I don't think you can use him at all. Coming off the Belmont and the way he ran, and then after the break when they were encouraged by the way he was training, he was totally uncompetitive in the Malibu. He's going to have to show a lot more in this race for me to even look at him next time out. But Saturday, no.
And even if he were to get back to one of his better races, that's still not even really fast enough to compete with some of the races that the best in this race have run. So, and with that reputation being a Derby winner, he'll probably always get bet a little more than he should.
Exactly.
So not really a whole lot of value there with Mystic Dan. Alexa, you like Skippy Longstocking a little bit, though, in this spot.
I do. Time Form US also predicts to be the winner. Typically, his wins come on the front end and should, I think, be able to get that position pretty comfortably against these since there's not a whole lot of pace. And like Randy said, you really do want to be near the front in this race. Multiple graded stakes winner, but never been able to lock down that Grade 1 win. He has run in this race the last 2 years, and those are like his 2 worst performances. So I don't love that pattern, but from a fitness, pace, and a figure standpoint, I think he looks great, especially at those 10-1 odds.
You said the word locked. That's the next horse in here who will probably be the betting favorite at post time. And Randy, this horse was actually favored in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at 2. Then he missed most of his 3-year-old year, which was really disappointing. But when he showed back up, he's been a little bit bigger, a little bit better, a little bit more mature, good speed figures. And now he goes third start of the form cycle here.
If all things were equal, I would probably give him a slight edge over Saudi Crown. I don't like his post position, though. I think, A, he could lose some ground on the turns in relation to Saudi Crown, and B, he might be a little farther back than you would want him to be in a perfect world in a race at Gulfstream with a short stretch like the Pegasus.
Rounding out the field, Alexa, is Power Squeeze. She's the lone filly facing the boys. She is a Grade 1 winner, but she's a little light on speed figures.
She is. I mean, multiple grade 6 winner, but never run a performance fast enough to contend. So I'm going to pass.
So as we finish up with the World Cup, we move to Randy for selections. I think we're all kind of looking for the horse down on the inside to control things, Randy. So we hope that Saudi Crown's going to get out there and get aggressive.
Yeah, I think that's why I give him the edge. I think he's got a pace advantage. He's got a good post position for that kind of a style. He's 9-2 in the program. If he's even 4-1 or 7-2, I think he's a really, really good value play. I think Locke will come along for second, and underneath him and all the exotics, I'm going to stick, Krupe in there, Stronghold in there, maybe throw a little Mixtos and Skippy Longstocking in there too. But I think the big 2 are Saudi Crown and Locke.
When we return, we'll talk pick 5. Alexa and I will go over some of the horses we're going to use in the pick 5 ticket. Randy, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be watching you 4:30 p.m. Saturday on Peacock and on NBC. Good luck with all your plays.
This was fun. You too. Take care.
Second full year under new ownership to really be where they are right now for this Commanders franchise is one of the best stories of this NFL season.
Went to the playoffs and won 2 road games. Now we're going to use that. Hey, rookie quarterback on? No more rookie quarterback. He's already arrived in the NFL as a legitimate quarterback. And can you say, Ben, is he already top 5?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
he did nothing for 5 weeks. So he is becoming his brother. So I don't want to hear about how great TJ Watt is with his 0 playoff wins. And he's the first guy to admit it. He comes right out and says, I've never won a playoff game. I don't matter. All right, at least we all know who the best player on the team is. It's George Pickens. If you don't believe that, well, then screw you, too.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We'll see if they get McCain back. Kelly Oubre, Yabusele's been good. Caleb Martin's a defensive specialist. Andre Drummond can still give you, almost a double-double at any point. I can't go south on this team. And now you're giving it to me at 2-1 to make the playoffs? To be in the Final 8? Folks, give me the Philadelphia 76ers to make the playoffs at plus 210.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP of the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP of the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground, but now it's time to move to our Pick 5 segment. We appreciate all of you for hanging out with us throughout the last hour or so. Now we can talk about how we're going to set up our Pick 5 wager. It's going to start in race number 9 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. And remember, for a Pick 5, it's like a parlay. So we have to have a winner in every race. We can use a couple horses, though, in each of the races along the way. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the one in race number 9 that we're going to use, right?
Yep, limited liability, 3-1 morning line. This horse has hit the board in last 4 races with improving figures. Also has an angle that I always love, which is a breeding angle. He's by the sire Kitten's Joy. And I always love Kitten's Joy horses going along on the turf.
So we'll end up using 3 horses in this race. We're going to use the 1, the 8, and the 11. I like the 8 a little bit, Yamato, as a big price, who's returning to the turf after trying the synthetic the last couple times. And then Alexa, the 11, Bold Act, is the horse to beat. It's one of the Appleby runners who's faced really good company. So 1, 8, and 11, we'll use those 3 trying to make it through race number 9. Then we move to race number 10. This one is the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. We discussed this race with Bailey a little bit earlier on. Alexa, who did you want to talk about in here that we're going to use on the Pick 5?
Yeah, we're using 4 horses, starting with the 1, Rakia. I like this horse. I said earlier, I think the pace really shapes could totally get away from the field here, I think, and go to the lead and not have a whole lot of pace pressure. Also use the number 10, Sacred Wish, coming off a win in the Grade 1 Matriarch beginning of last month, has early and late time from US rating are the same. So kind of a consistent running style and can get positioned pretty well, maybe a couple lengths off and sit a nice trip.
Super honest. The number 2, Pounce, will be one of the long shots that we use in the race. Pounce can sit close and is proven at Gulfstream Park. And then the 5, Fluffy Socks, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. This is a horse who's going to drop way back. She hopes they go quick early. She's classy enough. She just needs the right kind of trip. That's the key with her. That's why you don't see her winning all that often. It's not that she's not good enough. It's just she's not fast enough early in a lot of these races. So 1, 2, 5, and 10, trying to make it through the Filly and Mare Turf. Then we move to race 11. Alexa, this is the inside information. How are we going to start it here?
Yeah, we're using 2 horses in here, including the number 9, Emery, 3-1. Pretty short price, but proven, multiple graded stakes wins, consistent, is improving every race in her career. So I think can sit a really nice trip and fire this weekend.
Yeah, the outside draw will be beautiful for Emery. Last year's winner was Olivia Darling, and Olivia Darling has some speed figures and has some speed ratings that are very fast and that are right up at the top with the rest of this field. So I think rounding back into form, she kind of threw a couple clunkers in earlier this year, but her most recent race was a nice win. I think that'll get her back into a real competitive effort on Saturday. So we're going to use the 8 and the 9 in race number 11. That means we need one of those 2 horses to win in order to move to race number 12. This is the Pegasus World Cup Turf. Alexa, we kind of feel like the 5 is the horse to beat, and then we'll throw in a fun long shot that will maybe give us a little bit of value.
Yeah, Battle of Normandy, the 10 at 20-1. Samantha mentioned this horse is coming off 4 wins. And when a horse is on a winning streak, you want to include it, especially at these odds. Likes the distance, has some pace advantage if can get out early ahead of all of these late runners.
I think the 5 Integration, probably the one to beat in here, was actually favored last year. Integration and Nation's Pride will both take a lot of money, but I prefer Integration, who I think is just lightly raced with more upside. Still only 10 career starts for this horse, so can continue to improve. We're going to double up. We use the 5 and the 10 as we turn the page to race number 13. It's the Pegasus World Cup Dirt. I think we're going to be 3 deep in this one, right?
We are. We're using a couple logical ones and then some long shots, starting with the 10 Skippy Longstocking is one of the longer price at 10-1. Timeform US thinks will be the winner. Wins typically come on the front end and should be able to get that position. He's the one who I mentioned has run in this race twice with his worst efforts, disappointing efforts, but is in really good shape, and his figures are looking really great right now. And then
it should sit close too, right? Not a lot of speed in this race.
Exactly. Should have the pace advantage. And then the 11 Locked, 5-2, most lightly raced horse in here. But 6 starts, 4 wins, including grade 1 wins. So definite fierce contender.
Well, the 2 Saudi Crown is the horse that we all think will be on the front end, maybe the one they'll all be chasing. We take a look at the pick 5. It's a $72 play. I think that was our lucky number when we scored for about 5,000 a couple months ago. So maybe that's the key number. And I want to give a big shout out to our guests. Thank you so much to Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, for Randy Moss for joining us. First Bet, our sponsors of the show. They're going to have a huge day. The first racing is at Gulfstream Park for Pegasus Day. And a big shout out to our producers, Mike and Rich, pulling the strings, the puppet masters behind, always making us look and sound so good. We appreciate all of you. And this show will re-air again. So if you missed it, don't worry. You can catch it again on Saturday. Good luck, everyone. Best of luck at Pegasus.
You know, they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.